Yeah, okay, great. So here's my little bio page. So just quickly, I have a Bachelor of Science degree. I went to UBC and I graduated 2002. And then I was just speaking about Nutraponics, the lead builder there. And then I went down to Colorado last year to take an intensive aquaponics farming course. It's led by Gina Cavaliero and JD Sawyer. They're really well known in the aquaponics community. And these are just some of my clients that I've been working with all within the last year. So Gagan Farm, that's in Abbotsford. It's an organic blueberry farm. I haven't started there yet. I've just been speaking to them about incorporating an aquaponics facility into their farm. Ecoflex, that's a engineering company in Squamish. They're developing automated sensors for aquaponics. I did something for a friend of mine who's part of Squamish First Nations. BC Ag in the classroom, and then various schools. And I'm in Edmonton right now, working with St. Richard's and Strathcona Christian. So I do commercial and educational builds, and then presentations and consulting. So these are some photos of the Nutraponics facility. You can see on the upper left here. This is on our opening day last year. This was the size of the warehouse. It's 8,000 square feet, and inside these are just some shots of the grow beds. These are all. On the bottom here, bottom left, is a deep water culture bed. And then on the right, we've got modified nutrient film technique beds. And these beds go 20 feet high, so it's pretty massive. LED lights. This is what I did in Squamish just a couple of months ago. So this is obviously pre-plants, but they're now in the process of adding the plants. We've just finished cycling the system. So why aquaponics? For those who don't know, aquaponics has an amazing water conservation rate. There's over a 90% water conservation rate that can happen with an aquaponics system, and that's pretty important nowadays when we're looking at all these droughts going on. Ability to grow anywhere. Basically anywhere you have a power source, you can install an aquaponics system. This slide here, I believe, I just found it online, but it looks like a hydroponics system. But same idea, vertical stacking. So aquaponic farms are becoming really common in sort of urban settings. Why aquaponics for schools? Well, it's a really great hands-on application of a lot of different subjects: biology, chemistry, mathematics, physics, and the IEA. So nitrification cycle is obviously huge. That's one of the thing that makes aquaponics work really. Nitrification cycle is obviously one of the most important ecological processes. So it's a real great way for students to just see how these things are happening in front of them. It's you're literally creating a little ecosystem for yourself. And then on top of that, students can learn about a really sustainable form of agriculture, and they can learn how to grow their own food. And then why Sea to Sky? Well, I have a background in construction and carpentry as well as science. And like I said, I've been involved with some commercial builds. So I apply the basic design principles of commercial systems to my educational units. So the idea is that students can see how things should go together and pick up on all the little subtleties instead of trying to figure it out for themselves, and which you can do, obviously, but there's a lot of misleading information online, and that's actually one of the reasons I'm going into the school on Friday. They have already got a system, and I contacted them, and they want me to do some consulting with them because they're having some issues with getting things working properly, or they want to optimize things a bit more. So what I try to do is just give an example of all three types of grow beds that are common in aquaponics, and allow the students to hopefully apply those design principles to their own systems, smaller systems that they could build. I do custom builds to fit any sort of budget or size requirement. I try to make them look good. I find that students more engaged in the aquaponics project when it's more of a visually appealing thing to look at. And then I provide a comprehensive learning package, and I try to suit it to different age levels. So I've got about 10 units right now, and each one applies to a different aspect. And then I just provide basic customer support anytime there's any issues. Just give me a call or email, and yeah, I can walk you through what's going on. So again, what I've been focusing on the last year are these portable systems. So again, all 3 types of grow beds, and it also incorporates vertical stacking, which again is pretty common in commercial farms. I use what's called a chop design, which is more complicated than a very basic flood and drain system. I've got a photo of a flood and drain I'll show you later, but CHOPS, the acronym stands for constant height, one pump. So constant height being a constant height of water in the fish tank. And this prevents fluctuations in water level in the fish tank, which keeps the fish happier in my view. And one pump, so the pump is always in the sump at the very bottom of the system, and the system I've come up with is also doubling as a grow bed. It's doubling as what's called a deep water culture grow bed. I use organic food grade liners. I incorporate a bell siphon, which is a really neat little tool. It's basically a non-electrically driven way to drain a gravel bed, and it's all based upon basic principles of physics. So students get to see how siphons work. And I include grow lights. So I use T5 fluorescent lights for that. I can do LED lights too, but they're just a bit more expensive up front. So there's a photo of the system the day I got the water flowing. This was at Don Ross Middle School in Brackendale, just outside Squamish. So you can see here, there's the fish tank. It sits up high. Just below that is your media bed, and then below that is a deep water culture. And then this is an NFT bed, which was in the process of being completed. So these 2 lines gravity feed towards a lower point at the far end, and then gravity feed back into this T here and into the fish tank. There's another view of it. So again, there's your media bed. There's a bell siphon, and then the deep water culture bed. And the lights are adjustable. There's a side view of it. So, and these are some photos of the kind of production you can get. This is a really small prototype I built here in Edmonton over a year ago. And this is a few months into the system once things really start maturing. So aquaponics does really well with leafy greens and because of the high level of nitrates. So you can just see you get really robust growth. And this is in the deep water culture bed. And I think the size of this was only about 16 inches by 2 foot or something. There's another shot. This was just taken about a month ago. Same system. I came back to Edmonton. Yeah, this is, the middle of December. So you get really good year-round growth. This was a shot that was sent to me a couple of weeks ago from the Don Ross School. So they came back after Christmas and things were a little unbalanced, and the nitrates were really low. And I basically walked them through how to get things going again. So this was about a week after. So I was pretty happy with how things sort of rebounded pretty quickly. So it's just lettuce. Lettuce grows really easily in aquaponics. Again, this is in the deep water culture bed. So 1-inch foam raft with holes, and the plants in the grow plugs just literally sit into these holes, and the roots sit in the nutrient-rich water. So I've got a video here. I'll just play it for you guys quickly. Oh, maybe it's not going to let me do that. Oh, there we go. So I've just finished construction of an educational aquaponics system for Don Ross Middle School in Brackendale. This is going to be the fish tank. Right here we've got the inner standpipe. So water is going to flow into this pipe and into the first grow bed. It's going to be a gravel bed. You can see the students have already started to label some of the components. So this is the bell siphon. I've still got to put on the bell and the media guard around that standpipe. Water's then going to flow from the gravel bed and into the deep raft. I'm using an organic food grade liner. It's called Durascrim. That's the water pump down there. So water is going to be pumped from the deep raft and all the way back up and into the fish tank. So water is continually recirculating. It's one of the benefits of aquaponics is there's an amazing water conservation rate. Got a storage area under here. I'm using really heavy duty caster wheels on the bottom, so this is a portable system. Eventually I'm going to plumb up a line from this valve here and up onto this racking system. So this is not only going to serve as a structure to... Oh, I don't know why that cut out. Can you guys still see the screen?
Yep. Well, you just closed it.
Yeah, it just for some reason quit on me.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Let me open it up again. In the meantime, I'll yeah. Got another. Okay, there we go. It's back. Okay. Can you guys see it again?
Yep.
Anyways, that was just sort of, you saw the most important parts of that system there. So this was just some feedback from one of the teachers at Don Ross. I asked her to write some things about what her experience with it. So the aquaponics lab is an authentic, hands-on way to introduce so much learning. The system presents real-life problem solving on a daily basis. Students have had to solve problems such as why the plants aren't growing, why is there white powder on the plants, do we have enough fish? Right now, students are researching and designing their own systems, which they are really engaged in. It teaches students about sustainability. The best way I can sum up the beauty of owning a system is with one of the students' comments, this is real science. So I'll just go over quickly. I try to keep things fairly cheap for schools that don't have a large budget. So a basic flood and drain system, which looks like this basically. You've got a fish tank on the bottom with a pump and a line up to a media bed. And it's just a very basic filling and draining of this grow bed. So once
we're just seeing the TO SKY Aquaponics. I'm seeing, I think, #1 only.
Oh, really? Slide #1?
You're not on your PowerPoint.
Okay, one second.
So you may have to change, you may have to exit the view screen and then pull up the new one.
Okay. So how do I go back to the, how can I go to the screen share again?
Yeah, so exit the screen share.
Okay.
And then try it again.
Okay.
On PowerPoint. Okay, now try to make it a full PowerPoint again and see if that opens it up.
Okay. Can you guys see that now?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so as I was saying, so this is a basic flood and drain system. And in this type of design, the fish tank sits low on the ground, and there's a pump in the fish tank, and it pumps water up to the gravel bed. which fills, and when it reaches the height of the bell siphon, everything, the siphon kicks in and the water drains back down into the fish tank and the cycle repeats. So very basic. I personally don't like these designs that much because of the water fluctuation in the fish tank and the fact that the pump itself is sucking up quite a bit of fish waste directly, which can clog things up. But again, it is a cheap way to get into things and to learn about some basic principles. So I have a base cost usually around $750, and then I basically go from there based on what a school wants and what kind of budget they have. So this chop system that I was showing you guys, with all the finishing and materials, it works out to around $5.5 grand. I'm also currently working on a wicking bed design, which I'm really excited about. I haven't really installed any of those in schools yet, but the idea is it's a soil-based bed, and it's a nice supplement to an aquaponics system. Basically, you have a standpipe that breaches the top surface of the soil, and that pipe then elbows down along the bottom of the wicking bed. That bottom portion of the pipe is perforated, and water exits the perforations in the pipe and fills the bottom reservoir, which is full of gravel. The gravel is separated from the soil with a shade cloth, and essentially the plants get watered from the bottom up. And it's nice because you can grow rooting crops and a lot of fruiting crops in those types of beds, and then dedicate your aquaponics system more to leafy greens. That's one way you can do it anyways. And very low maintenance. And yeah, essentially you take water from your aquaponics system and fill the wicking bed with it. So yeah, and then as I was saying, I do consultation, and then I do class presentations as well. So that's basically it. There's some design specs there, which I won't really get into. I went over everything more or less, but these show some basic grow bed dimensions that I'm working with right now. The one that I'm working on right now is about 2 foot by 2.5, 4 foot by 2 for the deep water, and an FT pipe. I use a 3-inch diameter PVC, about 4 foot long. I'm working right now, can get around 60 plants in there. And based on the feed ratio that I'm recommending, 30 grams of fish feed per square meter per day, you can get around 3 pounds of fish in there. The schools I'm working with right now actually use goldfish. They're very cheap fish to start with, and you can get them basically anywhere.